Hi, Jinwang. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Shelley?
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you again.
Do you have a count of how many people we have in the room at the moment?
No one, no one. It's
Hmm.
not 1 p.m. now. It's not 1. Yeah, they will join in a couple of minutes.
Okay. So we have a couple of minutes before we have the 1 o'clock. I have
Yeah.
12:56 on my
Mhm.
clock.
Yeah,
So how's the weather where you are? I think you're up in the Halifax area today, right?
yeah. It was raining. It was drizzling, but now I think it stops. Maybe I can see the rain now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mhm.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
It is.
How's your weather?
Oh, it's fantastic. I live along St. Mary's Bay in the southwest corner of the province. So there
Oh,
are
nice.
days when it's super windy and other days
Mhm.
where it's just absolutely stunningly beautiful. But it's always nice whenever I'm next to the
Yeah,
water, especially in the
yeah,
Atlantic area.
yeah,
It's always a good day.
yeah. That's nice.
For
I like
sure.
the
Yeah.
water too.
Yeah, me too. We're only a few minutes away
Yeah.
from the water wherever you are in Nova Scotia, really.
Yeah, we're so
We're
lucky.
we are very fortunate for
Mhm,
sure.
mhm,
For sure.
mhm,
Yeah, I do like this part of the world.
mhm. Oh, I just have a friend told me yesterday she wanna come back from Alberta to Halifax. She
Well,
likes here more.
oh yes. Is she from the
Yeah.
Halifax area or is she from Alberta?
She's from China, but she was studying at university at Dell. Yeah.
Okay. So she's had some experience living here in Nova Scotia, so she knows the great benefits that we have.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Hmm.
sure. And Alberta's a lovely place. I mean, there are a lot of people who
Hmm.
leave Nova Scotia to work in Alberta, but
Oh.
invariably they end up coming back.
Yeah. I mean,
They
it's super cold in winter.
Yes, it's
Mhm.
super cold in
Yeah.
Alberta in the dry winters. Yes, I've not
Hmm.
experienced the dry winters there, but they
Yeah.
say it is quite brutal for sure.
Yeah. I
I
can imagine.
can imagine. I know the Ottawa winters are very, very cold
Yeah.
and very, very much very different than what we experience on the
Hmm.
coast. Our winters here are so humid or moist,
Yeah,
if you will. It makes a
that's
big
true.
difference.
Hmm.
You feel the cold right to your bones.
Yeah.
We had a good webinar last week.
Yeah.
Yep, I thought last week's webinar was kind of a good lead into today's webinar for sure.
Hmm.
Yep, you
So
have
we'll
really,
just wait. We'll just wait for 1 more minute and we can start.
okay, you just give me the go ahead. I'm ready whenever you are.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second session for social media management programs with Shelley Bellefontaine from Atlantic Online. I'm Jingwen, the project coordinator with Digital Nova Scotia. The first 3 sessions for social media management program are developed by Atlantic Online, Tourism Nova Scotia, and Digital Nova Scotia. During this session, we encourage you to post your questions in the Q&A box below. Please note it, our webinars will be recorded and uploaded to the Digiport website. Okay, now I will hand it over to Shelley.
Thank you, Jinwang.
No
Hello,
problem.
everyone. Hello, everyone. It's so nice to be here again with you today. Today, we're going to talk about how to position your business for the power of Facebook advertising, because today's marketing is very, very competitive, and we often have a very, very short time in which we can engage the people who are interested in our services. In the term of, in the scope of the tourism operations, you have a short window of time in which to engage lookers into actual bookers. So I am from Atlantic Online, and I'm here to help you today to demystify the Facebook pixel, to help you actively engage with using the Facebook Business Manager, and really to help transfer some knowledge to you, to help position you to be in a position where where you can run ads to help reach a much wider audience. So why today does Facebook advertising matter when we're inundated with ads from so many different venues? It matters primarily because the virtual space now rules. The traditional forms of advertising that we would have, heavily dependent on in campaigns of years gone by, such as TV and radio, are extremely cost prohibitive, and in some cases are rather counterproductive. I've seen, however, instances where traditional forms of advertising have been used quite effectively as they're married with new online models. And I've seen where television advertising can point to a website. I think that was when I saw the shift convert primarily to online, when we saw traditional forms promoting online channels. I think too, the biggest reason why Facebook and the advertising world available to you within Facebook is so important is because of the amount of users that are on the platform. I think this last statistic was just released in April of this year, and on an average month, there are 2.9 billion Facebook accounts that are active. I don't know what the total of Facebook accounts are, but 2.9 billion of them are active on a monthly basis. I mean, that is incredible when you think that Facebook retains information about all of those profile accounts. So when you establish yourself as a Facebook advertiser for your business, you end up having that whole plethora of information and data that Facebook has collected literally at your fingertips to help reach the specific audience that is relevant to your business. So Facebook advertising does indeed matter in this space. So today's agenda is going to focus on 6 core areas that I think are important for you to have a solid foundational knowledge in before you begin developing your own Facebook ad strategy. The Business Manager, or the Business Suite as it's now known, is the baseline tool that I recommend you use in order to manage all of your digital assets that are owned by Facebook, but also in particular your Facebook ads account. So I'll show you the steps involved to set up the Facebook Business Manager, and in particular, some things to look out for when you're setting up your Facebook ads account as well. We're going to talk about the pixel. We're going to demystify what this little Facebook spy is, known as the Facebook pixel, and how you can use it to your advantage and why you should be using it for sure. We're also going to talk about, and I'll demonstrate, domain validation. So when you have a website that is a destination for any Facebook ad that you'd like to run, you can't send traffic from your Facebook ad to your website until you first verify that with Facebook. So many people get hung up on the stage where they don't have, the domain itself verified. And there are a few tricky steps involved with that. So I think it's important that we cover that as well. We'll flow nicely next into conversions, and that's where we measure the efficacy or the efficiency and the proof, if you will, of how well our Facebook ads are running and how they're working for us. I also want to expose you to audiences, and we'll talk about different ad targeting strategies that I've used in sending my messages for myself and in my own ads, or for ads that I've run to clients. Those messages are sent to very specific audience members, and we can build a lot of that, a lot of our audience projections through the data that Facebook has available. So we'll review the different types of audiences for your ad targeting. positioning. And then we'll review the campaign structure. So we'll look at that whole complicated system of campaigns and ad sets and ads, and how you can combine each of them to come up with the best kind of ad for your business, and why I always recommend having dual creatives. And we'll talk all about that, as well as reporting for how you can measure the efficiency of your ads and the results of it. So who am I? I'm Shelley Bellefontaine. I'm a digital architect. I'm the lead digital marketing architect here at Atlantic Online. We have a small team of, we're up to five to six people now, not 5.5, but almost six people who are all distributed in their own offices throughout throughout North America, really. We have a lot of team members in the Dartmouth, Halifax area. We have some in the United States, and two members operate out of their Toronto offices. And it's a distributed workforce that we have, so we're able to respond quite easily and readily to our clients' demands. We work in industries such as, there's the global fisheries, industrial manufacturing. We offer a variety of services, including digital growth strategies and website design, to small business operators, as well as members of the tourism industry, and some not-for-profits as well. So I've been making websites long before it was cool to do so, and I absolutely love it, and welcome you to visit our website at atlanticonline.ca. Okay, so let's roll into this. The very first thing that I believe you should know is the use of the Facebook Business Manager. And it's an excellent tool that has, and if I seem a little excited about Facebook, I was not in this place about 5 years ago. Business Manager wasn't what it is today. And there were some challenges with using the system. I'm happy to say that I'm super excited about how well Business Manager and the Business Suite now offer true functions for businesses to advertise online, and it's a very powerful environment. The Business Manager itself is a tool that allows you to manage multiple Facebook pages, multiple business ad accounts, and as well as Instagram, because Instagram is owned by Facebook. So that really is, in essence, is the power of the Facebook Business Manager. It allows you to bring all of your assets together. Now, as a sole proprietor or a small business, you might only have one Facebook page, but there are organizations that have multiple Facebook pages because they have multiple types of business streams and different audiences. If you find yourself in that situation where you are experiencing growth and you're questioning whether or not you want to maybe split your audiences or have multiple pages to represent the maybe diverse services that your company offers, then using the Facebook Business Manager is definitely to your advantage. Okay. It also, the other thing that Facebook Business Manager allows you to do is own your assets, because you can grant full or partial access to anyone in your organization, depending on their role. So this will allow you to have employees or contractors manage your Facebook page, manage your Facebook ad accounts without you giving them ownership of your personal profile and your personal accounts. So Business Manager is definitely something I highly recommend. So the outcome for the next series of slides in which I'll demonstrate creating the Facebook Business Manager is that at the end, you will have a Facebook Business Manager account that's ready to manage all of your assets and also to share them with people that need to be involved with your business. Okay, it's also going to allow you to set up your Facebook ads account where you can set your payment methods, amongst other things. So the requirement for having a Facebook Business Manager is to ensure you do have a personal Facebook account. And this is important. Again, I have to reiterate this, that it's going to be a tool that allows you to easily manage all of your ad accounts. So you may have an ad account within Instagram and also within the Facebook world. This tool will allow you to manage all of those accounts, okay? And it's also going to put you in a position where you can start advertising your services to their 2.9 billion active Facebook users worldwide. Wow, that's a lot. Can't get my head around that number. Just want to give you a brief history about the Facebook Business Manager, because this kind of is how Facebook tends to operate. They put out a funky tool, a tool that works really, really well, and then they change it on you. So just to give you a little bit of history, the Business Manager itself was introduced way back in 2014 to do exactly what I said, manage all of your assets together. But then the Business Suite was introduced sometime later, and that allowed you to manage all the front end stuff. The content creator was there, the calendar, the pre-scheduling calendar tool is held within Business Suite. So that allowed you to send out your posts on a pre-scheduled list, if you will. And it also allowed you, I think, with Facebook Business Suite to manage your messages that came into your Facebook pages as well. So it was a little bit of a daunting effort to be using Business Manager over here to manage your Facebook ads and your ad spends and your campaigns, and over here managing your organic things. So what they did was combined it all. So depending on the user interface that you're using, because we all know Facebook is famous for changing things without letting us know, depending on which then user interface you're using, you should see the blended Business Suite. There are still, however, many instances where Business Manager is still used. So just think of them as one and the same. So what I'm going to walk you through today will be creating the Business Manager account within Facebook, and it will generate the same result. Okay, so you will be having access to the whole Business Suite, which is embedded within it. So to create a Facebook ads account, simply go to any browser and choose to go to business.facebook.com. Excuse me. You want to click on the create account in the corner of the window. And if you are not logged into your own personal Facebook account, it will prompt you to do so. Okay, so you must, because this is an asset associated with your Facebook profile. You must ensure that you're logged into Facebook. Okay. So once you're in the Create Business Manager mode, you'll be prompted to enter your business name as you would like it to be seen, okay, to your employees and other people that you might grant access to. And then you enter your business email account. Very simple. Verification will happen now. Facebook will send you an email to verify that you are indeed the person who's opening this account. Okay, and then after you confirm that you are the person who's legitimately opening this account and it is being associated with your Facebook profile, Business Manager will, then confirm that you indeed have the whole, the tool is now started for you. Really nothing that you can do within this tool until you then set up the ad account. Okay, so from within the Business Manager homepage, you would choose to access the Ad Manager settings. Okay, go to the business settings, and then it'll detect that you do not yet have a proper ads account established. So there's a little bit of AI at play here. Choose Ad, and then you'll be presented with a few different options in terms of what type of ad account you can create. And this is where the power of Business Manager shines. You can add an account that is claimed from another business manager account. You can request to be added to another account so that you will assume all of the billing and work on behalf of, say, another agency, or you can create your own ad account. So for your own business installation, for your own instance, choose create a new ad account. In future, if you wanted to share access, you can assign users to your ad account as well. So let's at this point choose to create a new ad account. And then you simply insert the details that are relevant. The two things that I'll ask you to be cognizant of are the time zone and also the currency setting as well. When you think about the time zone, it should not, or it is not always determined by your location. It could be determined by where your customers are, right? So I recently set up a business manager, business suite, and Facebook ads account for a company in Australia, because we were going to be targeting their clientele that lives in Australia, which is the other side of the time zone, other side of the equator. Therefore, the spheres are flipped. We want to make sure that when we advertise from, 8 to 12 in the morning, that it's not 8 to 12 at night, right? So in that case, we created and had the flexibility to change the time zone for them. If your clients are, say, on the West Coast and you operate on the East Coast, that might have an impact here. So do think about that before you choose your location and your time zone. Otherwise, if you choose your own time zone and you want to advertise to people on the West Coast, then you're going to have to consider that when you run your schedule. Okay. You want to pay attention to the currency that you want used for your account, and because you just cannot edit this in the future. If you find that you wanted to create a US dollars account, then you'll have to choose to create a new ad account in order to satisfy that as a requirement. Okay. Next step, you select whether you're creating this ad account for your business or if you want to advertise on behalf of someone else. In your case, you will choose my business. And then you'll be prompted to assign people at this point to your ad account. At this point, you should only just, add yourself. But in future, you might want to add contractors or people that you outsource Facebook advertising to, or maybe you just want to share it with somebody in your own organization. You have that freedom. You have that flexibility to do that. Okay. After that, your ad account is then created, but it has detected that you do not have a payment info is not attached to this. So you can't really run the ads yet because your payment has to be confirmed before Facebook will allow you to set to publish. So in terms of setting up your payment information, always make sure that location and currency are correct. Okay, that's what. If you do have an HST number, I highly recommend adding it here. The Canadian government, in terms of their taxation and the HST rules, have now insisted that companies that are external who have offices here and do businesses with people and businesses in Canada must register with their HST and record and make sure that their HST number is recorded and charged and so on. So do ensure that you add your HST number here and then choose your payment method. It can be a Visa debit card, it can be PayPal, or it can be through online banking, whichever is appropriate for you. Okay. And then after you have successfully added what your payment details are, then you just put in the rest of your information. And I always recommend going back into your ad account to verify the ad settings, but in particular, verify the payment setting. Okay, make sure that it indeed was correct. And this is a good way to reinforce how to access your payment settings, especially when you have a new credit card or for whatever reason you've had to change a payment method. Always make sure that you align your correct payment method with your ads. Okay. So that's basically it in terms of setting up the business manager. Okay, if you go back to the main home, you should see that you have now created the new Facebook ad account. So just to quickly summarize when to use the business manager to manage all of your Facebook assets, know that there are multiple Facebook assets that can be managed from within Business Manager, and that's why we use it. Okay, it's now branded as Business Suite, so in some respects they're almost synonymous. Always be mindful of that time zone. So just, take some time before you start building your business manager. Just take some time to make sure that you can address that time zone issue, because it has to be about how you best serve your customer, right? Also be mindful of those currency options, and always periodically review your payment options to make sure your credit card didn't expire or whatnot. That's a super important one. Okay, the next one is setting up the Facebook pixel. Okay, my little Facebook spy. The Facebook pixel actually is a small piece of code that sits on your website. And what it does is it's sitting there on your website is that it's collecting information about the traffic that's coming to your website from Facebook. It's actually, it's very, very helpful because it shows you where people are responding best to your ads and where they are perhaps making a purchase. It's going to give you opportunities to improve your ad as well, because it's going to show the behavior patterns of people once they take an action within your site. And the app and the Facebook pixel is absolutely essential if you want to engage with Facebook advertising. Okay. So we refer to it now as the meta pixel. Again, because of the version of the user interface, you might see it still referred to as Facebook pixel, but we all know Facebook is undergoing a rebranding exercise to Meta. So we refer to the pixel now as the meta pixel. Again, it is that piece of code that we put on our website that allows you to measure the effectiveness of your advertising campaigns, because it helps you understand the actions that people are taking on your website. Okay, so you use the metapixel to make sure that your ads are being shown to the right people. It can help you find new customers through the insights and analytics. It can also show you people who have visited a specific page on your site, separate and distinct from Google Analytics, I might add. It can also show you where certain actions are taken on your website as well. So all of this can translate into helping you drive more sales. And it can also help you when you create an ad to leave it as the automatic bidding set to the default, because then Facebook will look at your historical data stored from your pixel and help you reach more people who are likely to take an action. It's also a way to help you better manage the results of your ads. So let's just roll through. The Facebook pixel will always log when somebody takes an action on your website. And that's a very, very powerful tool. Okay, so some examples of an action could include adding an item to their shopping cart, right? Or perhaps making a purchase. Have you ever added something to a shopping cart and then left the website only to maybe get an email or see in your next timeline, hey, we saw that you left something in your cart, here's 20% off? That is through the power of the Facebook pixel. It knew you put something in the cart, that you were interested in it, and I'll show you the code associated with doing that shortly, but the power of the pixel kept track of that. Okay, the pixel logs all of the actions that occur, known as events, and all of those events about the Facebook pixel are available within the Business Manager in a section called the Events Manager. And from within Events Manager, you're able to see the type of actions that your customers have taken. Okay, it's very, very powerful. So the next step before you start running any type of Facebook ad is to make sure that the pixel is installed on your website. And then we also add a series of events or custom conversions attached to this pixel. Because yes, the pixel is the code, but what is it going to look for? It's going to look for certain events to happen. So we have to build those. Now that pixel itself goes on every page of your website. And if you have created landing pages to respond to your ads, that pixel should live there as well. The pixel tracks the traffic back to Facebook regarding any action or any sort of event that is triggered on your website. These types of conversions can be a lead, it can be a purchase, and it's all tracked through the standard events in custom conversions associated with your pixel. So to access the pixel, click on the Events Manager option that's in your menu within the Business Manager. But one thing I do recommend before you start attempting to add the pixel to your environment, I always like to have the Facebook Pixel Helper installed. And if you're using Chrome, and you should be as your browser window, as your browser type, it's a Chrome extension that can be added to your environment. So the Facebook Pixel Helper is just a tiny little piece of code. It's a troubleshooting tool that helps you validate whether or not your pixels are indeed firing on your website or if they're working properly. Okay, it sits in the background. The Facebook Pixel Helper sits in the background and it monitors the conversions that are happening, and it can provide you some real-time feedback as to how well your pixel is working. So it works by there being just a small little number will appear in the Facebook Pixel Helper icon that's at the top of your Chrome window after you choose to install it. And then when you click on it, a little panel will expand within your Chrome window, and it'll show you an overview of the pixels that are on that page. So it's a really, really cool tool. So just to install it, go off to the, just Google Facebook Pixel Helper. I'm not going to go down in the reads to show you how to do that. It's super easy. You just choose, follow the links in the Chrome store. It's free. It's an app that is then attached to your Chrome as an extension and works super, super well. Okay. So before we begin, do understand that you, at the end of this next phase of our lessons, you will indeed have a properly configured Facebook pixel installed on your website that will help you track the activity from your users that are generated from your Facebook advertising efforts. So before we install the pixel, you must have a personal Facebook account. You need to have the Business Manager or the Business Suite activated. And you have to be able to update your website by adding a tiny little piece of code. Don't let this intimidate you. This is just code. If you can't access the back end of your website, there's a plethora of people available on the planet that can help you do that. Reach out to Digital Nova Scotia. They'll hopefully be able to put you, I'm sure, be able to put you in touch with somebody who can help you edit the back end code. It's a simple sequence of steps of copying and pasting. So don't let the fact that it's code intimidate you. It's super easy. Okay. So to set up the Metapixel in your Business Manager, make sure that you are using the correct Business Manager account. So because I have multiple assigned for my users, I always make sure that I choose the appropriate one. Then you want to choose the Events Manager, because the pixel is part of the Events Manager, a section of Business Manager. If a pixel's already been created but hasn't been installed yet, you just click on Continue the Pixel Setup. It knows you don't have a pixel yet. And since this is your first time creating a pixel, you want to choose Connect the Data Sources, because that's in essence what we're doing. We're connecting the activity from Facebook and the traffic potential to your website. We're creating a bridge, okay? So you want to connect those data sources. In this case, I suggest choosing web. There are different types of data sources that you can drive traffic to from your Facebook ad. It could be maybe your company has an app So there's a specific Facebook pixel associated with apps. Not sure what the offline is, but the CRM is that there are several like client relationship management tools like databases that allow you to manage your clients as a separate tool. Sometimes we want to connect our pixel to that as well. So Facebook has recognized that there are more places in the world where we send our traffic from Facebook ads. But I just, for the purpose of this exercise, will choose web, and I'm going to say that 98% of you will do as well. From the next screen, you'll have to choose the type of code that you'll be choosing. And in this case, it is the metapixel. And again, if your user interface hasn't been updated, you'll see Facebook pixel here instead. Okay, so simply choose it. And then you'll get a little dialog box pop up telling you how it will work. So review that. It's simply saying Pixel is going to track actions that your customers take on your site. Okay, and that the actions of these customers will be captured through an event. So continue on with setting up the pixel. Choose your name and enter the website address of where the Facebook traffic will go. And then once you've created that pixel, you're now ready to put this pixel on your website. So I know I've just quickly gone through these screens. The screenshots may be different on your platform, but these are the general steps to take to create that pixel. Facebook has generated the code, and now it's asking us, well, how do you want to take this code and put it on your site? By choosing a partner, you have to ensure that you have that partner account open and active. An example of a partner account would be Google Tag Manager. It can help you put the tag in place, etc. If you don't have Google Tag Manager or any of the other partners, stick to using install the code manually. And for the purpose of this demonstration today, that's what we're going to do. And again, if you feel that you don't have the technical capacity to do that, I don't know how else to say that. I apologize if that seemed offensive, but if you're not technically competent or you don't feel confident to do that, that is okay, because there are lots of people who can help you with that. Give me a call, give anyone at DNS a call. If you have somebody that is a resource for you, you can choose to email the instructions to that person, and they'll take care of doing the update for you. Okay. So a few things that we have to do is that in order to manually install that pixel code is that we have to copy the base code that's provided to us from Facebook. And then we find the section of our code on our website where it should belong, and that is in the header of the website. And we'll examine that in a second. And then we simply paste that code onto the page of where that header is located. So it's simply a matter of taking the pixel code that's been generated by Facebook, copying it and pasting it in the appropriate section on your website. This is what the Facebook pixel code looks like. Not at all intimidating. Truly, don't be intimidated by this, because you don't have to write any of this code. This script has already been written for you. All of these calls that this script is making is all been generated by Facebook for you. So don't let this intimidate you at all. But I will explain the structure of what we're looking at here. On every web page, there are basically two parts. There's the header section, and then there's the body section. The header section is where we give the instruction to the operating system as to what to do. Okay, load certain things, make sure that this page is tagged in a certain way for SEO. That's where we put all that hard code. The body section is where we have the relevant stuff we see on screen, like our pictures and our messages and whatever media that we have installed on the page. So it's a two-part section. Knowing that, and knowing that we have to put the Facebook pixel in the header part, helps significantly. So we have in blue the basic section of the website, but up here is the header section. And this is all of the script that has to be installed simply by copying and pasting on your site. Okay. And we'll come back to this as part of the demonstration today. But that's what the code itself looks like. Once this code has been put on the appropriate section of your site, I recommend that you go back to QA it. And remember, when you install the Facebook Pixel Helper, after installing it in your Chrome browser, you'll see at the very top right-hand corner a new icon. It's the open parentheses with a slash, so that symbolizes a tag or an HTML piece of code. And then there'll be a number in a green box that indicates the amount of pixels that are now on your site. Okay, so you can click on this little the Pixel Helper, and then you'll be able to see your Facebook pixel installed right here. So it'll show you, the page view and the micro, that's all green check marks. That's saying that all the pixels, in this case one, are running and running perfectly. So that's why we install the Facebook Pixel Helper. It just validates that our efforts were not in vain. So now we have the Facebook Pixel sitting there on our website, and it's looking at all the traffic. It's looking at the traffic that's coming in from Facebook, and it's seeing what it's doing on your website. But that's all it's doing. Without applying a conversion metric, the Facebook Pixel doesn't know what to keep track of. It's seeing everything. It knows there's activity, but we're not quite sure because we haven't told it to look for certain activities. So conversions are the actual measured results of the user activity. Conversions are triggered by user activity or an event, and it's the action that's taken after someone reacts to the ad. So not only are they just visiting, but Facebook Pixel, through the conversion metrics we set up, can now keep track of what activities are happening as a result. It's a great way to measure the effectiveness of our advertising effort for sure. You use the Meta Pixel to track your website's visitors, and we use that also to track their actions. So now we have this term called conversion tracking. Not that technical. We're just trying to figure out and keep track of what our people are doing when they land on our site. Some of the activities that we could be tracking could include if they put something in their shopping cart, we have a tag for that. If they actually complete the purchase, we have another tag for that allows us to keep track of just purchases. If they sign up for a lead, we can tag them that way too. And if they go to a unique page on our site, and if the Facebook Pixel is installed on that site, we'll know because we have a tag for that too. So tracked conversions all appear in the Facebook Ads Manager, and they're found specifically within the Events Manager, which kind of makes sense because that's where we set up the Facebook Pixel earlier, right? Okay. Conversion tracking, yeah, definitely can be used to analyze the effectiveness of your conversion funnel, and it's going to help you calculate your return as well on any sort of Facebook ad spend. Excuse me, need to hydrate. Now, how our pixels keep track of these different conversions or the different activities is that there are 3 types of conversions that are relevant to the pixel. There are standard events. Okay. Standard events are things where the visitor has taken an action that we have defined as an action, and then it reports back to us anytime there's a custom event. So we have a list of standard events, and sometimes that's not enough. So we can build custom events, and then there are custom conversions as well. We're going to demo the standard events for the purpose of this exercise. Okay, so standard events are predefined visitor actions that correspond to like common activities that we would expect people to do when they're on our website. If they're searching for a product, if they're viewing a product, if they put that product in the shopping cart, if they put that product in the shopping cart then left, that's another tag, and we want to know that. So the events, the reporting of the events gives us that business intelligence that allows us to make decisions about how we can then reach our target audience as well. Okay. I think it's a good idea if you just want to pop over to this address to see a full list of standard events on developers.facebook.com, etc., etc. I think I've got it open. Hold on a sec. I'll see if I can find it. Where did I put it? No. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I thought I had it open. But nonetheless, this is a valuable resource for you to go to that'll show you the different types of standard events that are acceptable. Okay. So let's do a little deeper dive on the actual standard event and the pixel code. So all the standard events are tracked when the pixel is structured with this certain function in place. I apologize for this being blurry. Okay, so here's a function call to track what's tracking the purchase. So it's tracking when a visitor has completed a purchase event. We have the ability through the standard event configuration, when we choose that we want to track a purchase, we can choose some parameters to track that are associated with this purpose. And this is where we get into the power of Facebook, because I can tell it, yes, I'm tracking US dollars, and the value for this particular conversion, when somebody actually follows through and finalizes their sale after they hit add to cart, purchase, and then their thank you page, this is where this pixel is actually on the thank you page. We know that the visitor to our site can only get to this page after they have completed the purchase. So that makes sense for us to have this type of standard event on that web page. And we know that the value was $30. This particular piece of code would exist right here in the Facebook tracking. So this Facebook tracking of the purchase would live right here inside of this piece of pixel code on your completed purchase page. Then once this function has been called, once the person gets to the page where they can complete their purchase, Facebook Pixel is looking at all this activity and it just checked off, oh, this event was met. This event was true. And if you were to go back into your events manager, you will see that a purchase was indeed made. And this is how Facebook will report for you on any activity where you have events that are running through a properly configured pixel. So it's a lot of steps to get here. But once you have this established, you're able to track not only the efficacy of your Facebook ads, but how much money your Facebook ads are actually making for you. Okay, works beautifully. When you get to this point and you see the data rolling in, I can't tell you, it's a super exciting day. And you will have that too, I have no doubt. Okay, so in terms of adding event tracking, you add events using the event setup tool, or you can manually add the code to your website. Okay, if you want to use the event setup tool, there are options that you can roll through. I suggest taking a hard look at the developers.facebook.com website, because that'll help you kind of demystify this even further. I mean, we're just going over some very high level concepts with some real life examples to help you understand the importance of setting this up properly within your environments, for sure. I would be remiss if I did not talk about the Apple iOS update. It has presented advertisers with kind of opportunities, but also some challenges when we're trying to use our Facebook advertising to target mobile Apple users. So is it of concern? Yes and no. Some people are indeed concerned because there are so many people that access Facebook using their mobile phones. I mean, I remember even, I'm going to say 5 years ago, no, I'm going to say 4 years ago, there were about 60% of my website visitors were using mobile. Now it's well up into the 80s. So I have over 80% of the people who visit my website now, and I have some healthy statistics on my website. Over 80% of them are using mobile. So you have to be cognizant of the fact that most of our content is being served that way. Okay. Because of the fact that so many people use their mobile phones, it's giving Facebook like a wealth of information about what people are doing with their mobile phones. Okay. When that Facebook app is actually opened on a mobile phone, and there's a feature there, it's called the Identified for Advertising. Okay, this is within the Apple environment. So it changed to the Apple operating system for their iPhones specifically, has restricted the ability of apps like Facebook to actually monitor what they're doing on their devices or their web behavior unless that user directly opts into the tracking. Okay, so you know what? That's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing at all, because we're inundated with, I don't know, hundreds of ads every day. And we live on our phones. And I quite frankly want to keep what I do on my phone rather private. So there is this feature now where people can opt into tracking. And that's kind of on par with the GDPR, the General Data Protection Rules that are in place in Europe as well. So that's fine. So this is a restriction, however, that does have some marketers concerned. I think that some people are concerned that the ad targeting may not be as precise as a result, because we're going to be missing a whole window of people. But you know what? It's kind of true that it's kind of a problem, but at the same time, Facebook has been collecting data on users for eons, and long before Apple introduced this recent update. So I think for the most part, like, Facebook has been collecting information that has represented users' preferences and their data, and their behaviors as well with their phones far longer. So yes, it's a concern, but I think we're going to be okay in terms of running our ads as a result. We'll still reach our target audience because the ads we're going to send out will be relevant, and therefore people will choose to opt into this tracking. Okay. So, you know that the pixel is sitting over there on your website? Well, it can't get there until you first until you first verify this domain. You can't send a pixel to a website that you don't own. So you have to go through a domain verification process. And that is simply verifying ownership of your domain. It's a requirement of Facebook before you run any kind of traffic that points to your website. So many times people have missed this step. They set up the business suite, they set up their ads account, they put the credit card in, and then they jump into creating ads. Well, you can't send traffic to something that you don't own. So this is why you have to verify your domain. And the main reason, actually, or one of the primary reasons, is also related to the iOS 14 update as well. Okay. Because of some limitations on how much stuff we can track, Facebook has put a limit on the amount of conversion events that we can have. So you can only have 8 conversion events presently configured to any one domain. Okay. So before you configure any of those events, your domain has to be verified. So in the Business Manager is where this is done. And you must also have access to your domain registrar as well. You do this before you run any Facebook ad campaign, and you should have created your Facebook Business Manager for your site, but you also need to have access to your domain registrar. And that could be wherever your domain name was registered. It could be GoDaddy, could have been a Google domain. Those tend to be the 2 platforms that I use for my domain registrar. Could be any of the others listed here or something entirely different. Nonetheless, you need to have access to your domain. So to add your domain to Business Manager, you simply go to your Facebook Business Manager dashboard and you click on the account that you want to work on. Again, remember why this is so, because you can manage multiple. So you might have multiple Facebook pages and accounts for your business. Click on this little hamburger icon, the little hamburger menu. And then under that, you'll choose Business Settings and then Domains. Under Brand Safety, you will find Domains. If this is your first time that you're verifying this domain, you'll need to add it, obviously. So you would just simply indicate what the domain name is. And then Facebook is going to generate a bit of code for you. This text verification record, which is provided to you by Facebook, has to be copied and then pasted into your domain name settings with your registrar. And this can be tricky. Okay. This can be very, very tricky. Let me share my page. I think I have it open for you. Oh, no. This is it. Here it is. Okay. So this is my record for my atlanticonline.ca. We're not making any changes to this, trust me. But I just want to show you that I registered this domain with GoDaddy. That's not a big deal, just to share that. You can see that this domain has a variety of DNS records, domain name server records. Each record, represented by this line here, each record is intended for a very specific function. So sometimes we have to point our domain to our web host. Okay, in this case, that would be that. Other times we have other apps that are configured and connected to our domain. HubSpot, again, that's another record. My email, specifically with Gmail, so my domain email has this kind of record. These are not records that you ever want to change. These are not records, even though you can click, delete, and edit, that you should ever touch. This, however, means you should know what you're doing when you're trying to add a new record to your domain environment. But in order to verify your domain, in order to tell Facebook that you can send traffic to this domain, your www domain, you have to have that Facebook record added here so that it's a new record amongst all of the others that are embedded. If you're not sure how to do that, then I recommend seeking help. Definitely contact us. We can walk you through setting up these records, but it can be tricky if you're not quite sure what you're doing. Just a little bit of caution there. And it's only because it's such an important asset that you don't want to mess up using any part of your domain at any time. So all of your records have to be treated with a great deal of respect. Okay. So we'll go back to this. And resume the show. Excuse me, my mouse is all weird. Okay, so we go to your domain dashboard, whatever it is. In this example, it's Dreamhouse. Go to your DNS records. And then you would want to add a custom DNS record to your account. Okay. In this case, Facebook will explain and provide you with all, when you do the copy and the paste, you'll know that it should be a text type of record. And then this is the value that you choose. Facebook will generate all of this for you on the basis that you know how to add this. And again, do be careful, because adding the wrong kind of record can mess up any sort of location references for your domain. When you're happy with that, you just simply choose add record now. Okay. And then you will choose to tell Facebook at this point, yeah, I've added the copy, I've added that text to my new record. Please go off and verify it. Okay, so connecting your domain is a very serious, it's only a few steps, but it's a very serious process as well. So you just choose verify. And then what Facebook is now going to do is kind of wait. It has to wait because you've just added a new piece of information to your domain. When you think about how domains are managed and how they have to be shared globally, then you can appreciate why it takes so long for a verification to happen. Because when a record is added to a domain, that record has to be shared on all of the registrar's databases that are distributed throughout the world. We have like a single source, if you will, of all of the domain names that are used in the world with their associated records. And the reason why we had that is because no two domain names can be the same. You cannot have www.abc.com owned by two different websites. It's only the one. You can have abc.ca and abc.com. Those are two very separate and distinct domain names, but it has to be centrally managed. And it is done through a domain propagation system, and that's how, or domain registration system. And when we make changes to a DNS at any time, all of the servers have to be in sync. That's why it takes that long sometimes to have it verified. Once it has been verified, Facebook will give you that green light and just refresh, and you'll eventually see that all of your assets are indeed connected. Okay. Then once your domain has been verified, the last step is to connect your Facebook page to that stream as an asset, if you will, and then you are ready to go with creating ads. A lot of steps, I appreciate. Thank you for bearing with me. The setup within Facebook can be a little technical, can be a little demanding, but it should be done in the sequence that I advised, and it should definitely be done before you begin to explore the true power of Facebook advertising. Okay. Love to hydrate. I don't drink enough water. I tend to drink in the afternoon. I'm full of coffee all morning. All right, let's roll on. We're going to talk about audiences. If you're looking to run effective Facebook ad campaigns, you need to know exactly who to target with each of your campaigns. Otherwise, you're just, at risk of losing your ad spend for sure. So in this section, I'm going to talk with you about the different types of audiences, namely the cold, the lookalike, and the warm audiences that can be used effectively when you're targeting your ads within Facebook. Okay. I remember when I first started running with Facebook ads, probably about 7-8 years ago is when I really, jumped in. I just literally jumped in doing Facebook advertising. Then I realized, oh my God, I'm so confused. What am I trying to do? Was I supposed to send this ad out to everybody? Was Facebook going to take care of choosing who would see my ad? Would it just be targeted to like random people? Was I targeting it? I wasn't quite sure how to benefit from that whole plethora of Facebook user data that exists. And I didn't know, was I supposed to actually create and save these audiences? Yes, indeed. That's part of the power of targeting within Facebook, is that it will allow you to manage your audiences. And those audiences can be the difference between a sale or a non-sale if you have them set up incorrectly. There are 3 types of audiences that we like to focus on with Facebook advertising, and that is the warm audience, people who kind of know about you. The lookalike audience, that is the people who are similar to those who kind of know about you. And then we have the cold audience as well. Each have their own intention for sure. The warm audience, well, that's the best kind of lead to have, really. Those are the people who are already familiar with your brand. It could include people who are website visitors. Oh, how do you know? Well, because your pixel is keeping track of that, right? It could be your page followers. That's easy to know. Facebook keeps track of its own data super well. But another example of a warm audience could be your email list as well. And if anyone has worked with me over the years, you will know that I've always pushed building a strong email list. When you have that, that's golden, because what you have in your hand when you have an email list is people who are trusting you. They're trusting you with their email address. So that's really quite a coveted thing in the marketing world. The power of Facebook advertising allows you to target these people specifically. Okay. No more do you have to put an ad in the local paper and wonder if somebody's going to see your ad. Well, yeah, they're going to see it, but what are they going to do? How do you know they're seeing it? with Facebook advertising and knowing that the plethora of data that Facebook keeps on hand is available to you, I mean, you'd be remiss if you didn't take advantage of that intelligence that Facebook offers. And keep in mind, all of those warm audiences are those who will be most receptive to your ads because they already know you, right? They already know about your company. They would have seen a post, they would have seen something about you. They're a warm audience for a reason. Okay. We know that knowing and liking leads to greater engagement and conversion. The lookalike audience, they're very, very similar to the warm audience. In fact, the lookalike audiences are actually mirrors. They are mirrors of our warm audience. The lookalike audience is based on the warm audience, and it could be a reflection of your email list. It could be targeted to people who are like your email subscribers. It could be your website audience. It could be video views. It could be followers. Okay. When using a lookalike audience within an ad campaign, what Facebook does is it uses its data that it has to show your brand to a whole brand new audience, but showing to an audience that's based on the similar characteristics of your known audience. Okay. So by all means, you must incorporate using warm audiences because it's based on the premise that people who are similar to those who have engaged with your brand will be likely to mimic those behaviors and will have a higher likelihood of engaging with your brand. Okay. The cold audience. Let's not dismiss the cold audience. They are the ones who are not familiar with your brand. They have not obviously engaged with our brand in any sort of fashion. It's worth testing and using cold audiences because this can help you position your brand in front of a new audience. And we can always generate leads from our warm and our lookalike audiences. Okay, we can always generate new leads, but it's always worth testing out in cold audiences because that's a great resource to try to build your exposure. I suggest that everyone take some time to just think of 10 or so new cold targets that you can look forward to reaching with your Facebook page and also through future ads as well. Don't dismiss cold audiences by any means. It's where we generate most of the awareness for our environment for sure. Setting up these audiences. So now that we know what they are, we know they're cold, we know they're warm, we know they're lookalikes to the warms. But what do we do? How do we build these audiences? In order to set up your warm audiences, we're going to go back into the audience section of the ads manager. So within Business Suite or Business Manager, go to the all section, all tools, I believe. And then under Ads Manager, you'll see an option for audiences. It's up to you at this point to build a series of warm audiences. And I recommend building the next 6 of them, at least the next 4. When you're ready to start running videos, then I suggest that you build out some, when you're ready to start using videos in any of your ads or even pushing out a video on your Facebook page, I recommend measuring for video views as well. So when setting up your warm audiences, you can use the fact that Facebook Pixel has been tracking the activity on your website. So build a custom audience of the people who have actually visited your website in the past, in this case, 180 days. Okay, so use that as a number. When you have an email list or a database of emails, you would just export your list to like a common CSV type of file. And then you can upload that customer email list into Facebook. And what Facebook will do is parse all of that information. It'll look at the email address. And it'll look at the name of that person, and it'll match that to the other Facebook profile users that are active within Facebook, and it'll target those ads directly to those people. So that's how, and that's why it's so powerful, rather, to maintain and build an email list, because you can import that into Facebook and create your audience based on that. So not only will you be able to speak to your audience members by sending them an email through whatever email campaign you use, but you could also hit them when they're on Facebook. It's really cool. I suggest also setting up sorry for the spelling there, an Instagram engagement warm audience and a Facebook engagement warm audience. So people who have visited either your Facebook or your Instagram channel within the last year could be. And video views, we can track when people are looking at our videos. If they have viewed 25% of our videos, that represents an opportunity. They were somewhat interested, but maybe there's an opportunity to, send them another video based on that view. If, however, they've looked at 75% of your video, chances are they are now very familiar with your brand, and you could probably start sending them ads or Facebook ads, targeting them with conversion type of ads where you're actually making offers to them. So these are the different types, at least the first 4 types of warm audiences that you can build through the Facebook environment. Okay, so in order to set up lookalike audiences, which are mirrors of your warm audience, very similar. You go into the Facebook ad account, look at your audiences. When you choose to create an audience, you won't be creating a custom warm audience, you'll be creating a lookalike audience. Okay. The lookalike audiences that I recommend you make are based on your website viewers. So because you already created at least 4 to 6 warm audiences, you will create and use those rather as your source for the lookalike audiences. So create a lookalike audience of your website viewers. That's going to tell Facebook, as they're tracking who's looking at your website, they have that demographic data. You don't see it, but Facebook knows exactly who is looking at your website. The lookalike audience is going to mirror people. So Facebook knows the demographic info about the person who's looking at your site. It can match that with other demographic data that's similar within its environment and send off your Facebook ad now to a new warm audience, or to a new audience, if you will. They are cold, but they look like your warm audience. Therefore, they are more likely to engage with your brand. Likewise with your email list and video views. So setting up lookalike audiences are very, very important. It's one of the baseline things that I do for all my clients, for sure. Not to dismiss cold audiences, because this is our place, and represents our opportunity to showcase and build new awareness for our business. So once you've created both your warm and your lookalike audiences, then it's time to find some cold targets. And I recommend, at least a dozen or so cold audiences that you can use when you do targeting in your testing phase. Okay, we're going to talk about testing shortly as well. If you're not quite sure who to target, I recommend using the Audience Insights tool. It allows you to research pages that you can target within, future ads as well. Okay, this interface might look a little different than what you're looking at. Okay, all right. Boy, we've covered a lot. Are we on point for time? 2:09. Okay, we're getting there. We've gone through a lot of work. We've set up the business manager. We've set up the Facebook ad engine. We know it's connected to both our verified page and also to our verified domain. And we've talked about the different types of audiences that we want to create and target as well. Okay, so with all of that knowledge, we're kind of positioned to look at the actual Facebook campaign structure. How does Facebook organize the ad assets that are there for your use? Okay, it's very, very layered. The Facebook ad campaign, the structure itself is very layered, and it has three primary sections. Each section serves a very important purpose. So the sections are campaign, the ad set level, and then the actual ads, the ad level itself. Okay, so let's roll through. This is a graph of how the Facebook ad environment is established. Okay, so when you pop into the ads manager, you're going to see a tab at the top called campaign, and then you'll see another one called ad set, and then over on the right hand side you'll see another one called ads. It doesn't really, the interface is not that intuitive to me to show you that this ad belongs to this ad set, that it belongs to this campaign. So this is why I'm representing the campaign ad structure in this way. We can have multiple campaigns established. We can have multiple campaigns running at the same time. Each campaign, however, has its own ad sets. So the ad set that you have running in this ad for this campaign, very different than the parameters that you define for this ad set over at this campaign. Okay, it's very, very granular. That's why I've set this up this way, so that you can see you can have multiple ads associated with one ad set. These ads might be running at the same time as these ads, but they are in no way related. Okay, so this is how you can structure your actual ads. Let's take a look at the definition of each level that we're working with within an ad account. At the campaign level, the topmost level, this is where we define the campaign name and where we declare if there are any special ad categories. So a special ad category, as an example, could be anything related to finance. It could be related to the housing market. And I think that's a really good one to use as an example. I had a Facebook ad rejected because I was representing a vacation home company that the copy in the ad referred to houses available for vacation rental. And there was something in the language that Facebook got very, very confused over, because it thought I was selling high-end luxury accommodations, which in essence we were, because that's what they were. But by doing so, I discriminated against people who could not afford that. That was my interpretation of the special ad category violation. So I had to change the language to make it seem more all-encompassing and more welcoming to everyone, regardless of budget. So do be careful with these special ad categories. They can be tricky and they can crash your campaign pretty quickly. At the campaign level, so we give it the name, we define if we're going to be doing A/B split testing, which I'll get into with you shortly. But the primary purpose of the campaign level is to set the objective. And the objectives are really dependent on a typical sales funnel of awareness, consideration, and conversion. When you think about that, when you think of the typical sales journey that a prospect goes through, they first have to be made aware of your business, and then they will consider engaging with your business. Okay, they become more interested until we can move them through that funnel to the conversion stage. Facebook allows us to create ads dependent on where our prospects are in the sales funnel. Okay. In the case of using an awareness ad, I would use the audience lookalike here, because I want to raise additional brand awareness to a new audience, or I want to reach a new audience. I would also, remember when I recommended that you come up with 10 or so, 10 to 20 cold audience samples? That's where we would run our cold audience here within the awareness branch. So the objective for awareness is very specific to the audience. Likewise, if we have our warm or lookalike audiences who have already generated some interest with us, then we can run traffic ads back to our website, or we can have engagements where they, download our app, or they can view our videos. Maybe they want to generate, maybe we want to generate a new list of leads. Okay, we can do that through Facebook. Maybe we want to have conversations with people who are aware of us. Then we would choose the messaging objective to reach those people. When we're all grown up on our websites and have e-commerce running and product catalogs all established, then we can develop ads to send people directly to a specific landing page to buy a new set of glasses. Okay, so that's what we do at the campaign level. The key thing is defining the proper objective for your campaign. Next is the actual ad set. This is where we connect it to the page that we want to promote. It's where we determine the budget and the schedule. Remember earlier when I talked about choosing the correct time zone? This is where you can jive with that. Okay, make sure that your schedule is going to reflect when your customers are online. And you can even turn off your ads to be not run, or turn your ads at a point where they are not run during the midnight hour, for example. This is where you define the audience. Remember the warm and lookalike audiences that we defined? This is where you pull that in, which means any ad running here will be shown to this audience. We determine what placements are going to be and the optimization. Placements are important to note because Facebook, as we all know, owns Instagram, but it also allows you to position your ad on any type of channel within Instagram. So you got, within Facebook, there's Reels, there's mobile display, there's different ways that your ad can be shown. And that's what the placements allows you to do. So you can see where your ads are going to be displayed, or you can choose where your ads will be displayed. You can cancel Instagram altogether if you like, or you can make sure that it's shown in certain styles. So placements is super important to recognize. And optimization. Let's talk about this for a sec. The frequency cap is really important. And at the last slide, I think we go over a report from an ad that I ran, and you'll see the frequency cap in there. This is to prevent ad fatigue. We can send our ad out and let the Facebook pixel generate where the ad's shown, right? Based on all the data we know. But we can also cap how many times that ad is shown. If I put a high frequency cap of say 8, then that ad could potentially be seen 8 times by that same person. You don't want to have ad fatigue, because the first time somebody gets a little whatever over seeing your ad so many times, likely they're going to hide the ad. So be careful of that frequency cap. Then we have the ad level. At the ad level, we have the opportunity to connect it to that Facebook or IG account. And we choose the format here. And this is where the fun happens. Well, the ad's already done by the time I get to this point, because my creative's all done ahead of time. I never create within. I always have everything ready. But here's where we can choose whether we run an image, if the ad is just an image rather, or if we have a carousel of images, or if the ad is going to contain a video. Okay, or if it's going to contain the collections, and collections is the mobile experience. So this is where you can create a whole very cool and powerful representation of your brand using collections that are just seen with mobile users. Okay, I like to use the carousel. And a carousel or video tend to be the two most highly engaging pieces of collateral that my audience tends to be receptive on. And the carousel is especially important when you have multiple unique pages on your website, each pointing to a different service, if you will. For example, I have awesome client called the Nova Scotia Vacation Home, and they're a vacation home management company on the eastern shore of Nova Scotia, and she has like over 30 individual listings. So every so often we pull out those top ranking listings that we want to focus on, and I build a series of carousel ads where one ad represents a carousel of images, but the key thing is each image points to the website relevant to that image. So I have 30 pages on her site, and each carousel ad points to the specific one relevant to that picture of that location. So carousel ads are super powerful for showcasing a huge variety of options. Anyhow, I get a little excited when I talk about the type of ad copy we create because we have a lot of fun when we do that. The next part of the actual raw part of this ad is the creative section where you upload your media, you upload the headlines and your ad copy. There's a call to action option that you can make Facebook define here for you. And this is really important. You can put call to action in your copy, but I do that, but I also use the CTA option at the ad level, because there I can say read more, or I'm sorry, learn more, buy now, book now, that sort of thing. And it goes directly to the destination where people are going to be sent after they click on your ad. And then your events are set here as well. Okay. So back up a bit here. The campaign, the ad set, multiple ad sets within a campaign. Okay. This is where we have very specific interests and audiences defined. And then the actual ad. But we have two ads here. I recommend when first getting into Facebook advertising, when you're first getting your feet wet, you're trying to define who's most receptive to your advertising, is that and when you're trying to figure out which ad to run that's going to be the best style, is to do dual creatives. Okay. They are used to test the appeal of an ad before your audience. And sometimes just changing a picture can have a huge impact on a campaign. It can have a negative impact, it can have a very positive impact as well. So by using these dual creatives when you're doing your A/B split testing or your testing of your ads, it's going to help you reinforce, I guess, your understanding of what your audience responds best to. Okay. It's going to help you determine what is most preferable as well. Okay. So the goal to creating dual ads is to test how well an ad can be received by our audience. It's going to help us set the stage for future ads, because then we'll know what resonates with our audience. And obviously, it's going to increase our conversions. And when we have very high conversions on our ads, our budget becomes less. And that's always a nice thing too. So in order to create these dual ads, I recommend using the warm and the lookalike audiences. They are most recommended. But if you are budget conscious, use those. If you're not budget conscious and you want to do like a riskier test, run it with a cold audience. Okay. So my strategy when creating dual ads is to create 3 campaigns. I build a warm and I build a lookalike campaign, and then I will build a cold if my budget allows. For each campaign, I split test at least 2 sets of ads. For every ad that I run, I always test at least 2 different ad variations to see which one generates the higher conversion. And it's structured like this. So if I have a campaign where my objective is traffic, I have an audience set that is my warm. So I know my warm audience is going to see these 2 ads. The same audience is going to see these 2 ads. That is how I measure whether ad 1 is ranking higher than ad 2. The copy is the same. The calls to action are the same. We know the audience is the same. The narrative is the same in each ad. The only thing that's different are the images. So I'm testing which visual image is going to resonate more with my audience. Okay. And you can have multiple. So whenever I onboard a new client with a healthy advertising budget, we want to figure out what the landscape is all about. And we want to figure out where the ads are going to run their best. So I always create 2 ad sets, okay, based on the same objective of traffic at that level. I want to see which ad down here is going to generate the most traffic back to the website for my warm audiences and for my lookalike audiences. And based on the numbers and the results that I'll see in the ads reporting, I will know if ad 2 compared to ad 1. And that's going to help me set the tone for figuring out the right kinds of ads to run in the future. That can be a lot of fun. Let's have a couple of examples. Okay, there's a company called Ad Espresso. They are offering a booklet for Facebook ads. So we have two things that are exactly the same, 2 ads from the same campaign, from the same ad set, going to the same audience. The text is the same, the call to action is the same, all of this is the same. I apologize, it's so blurry. Nonetheless, what's different is the visual. Okay, so we have this comic-y, visual ad. Yeah, okay. It kind of has my attention, but at the same time, I don't respond well to comedy figures, right? I don't respond to this. I don't know what this is. This could be anybody behind this mustache, right? This one, however, looks a whole lot more authentic. This is a person who, it looks real. She dresses the way we all do, like she's very casual, but she's focused there. She's looking at her paperwork. She's happy. She looks engaged. Far more appealing to look at this ad. This has my attention. Oh, 500 Facebook ad examples. Oh, yes, let's download that now. That's far more enticing than this ad copy here. As you can see with the results, the cost per download on this was only $1.68 compared to over $3 for this ad. So this ad did not perform as well. This ad had to work harder to convert your audience, and as a result, it cost more. And we know how much it cost because we had the Facebook pixel and the purchase event attached as a conversion event to that pixel that kept track of all of the downloads. Okay, this measured against the budget. Even though this collection was free, it did cost us to deliver, and it only cost $1.68. So this obviously was much, much better. One more example to show the importance of doing split testing. MailChimp, common email marketing tool. I use it for some of my clients. It's okay. Point is, they're running this ad again to the same audience. The only thing that's different is the creative. So the ad copy is all the same. The headline's the same, the audience, but the copy is different. When I look at this, I think, yeah, okay, like again, I don't have these funny characters in my business, and this doesn't really relate to me. I run an e-commerce store, but I don't know what this is, right? But then I look at this ad, I said, oh, that could be my shirt that's sitting there, or I present my products very similarly. Maybe this is the page this is the ad, obviously, that's going to resonate with me. Kind of cute. I like the desk. Oh, I see the little monkey. This ad only returned 292 engagements, whereas this one, look, 18,000. So the power behind using split testing is proven right here. So you definitely want to consider when you have ad spend and you have a budget, you want to be respectful towards your budget, and you want to make sure that you use the right ad copy, and you want to make sure that you use the same collateral or collateral that will resonate, yes, with your audience. Use the same campaigns, use the same ad sets. You run 2 different ads that have one thing that's different, and that'll help you determine what resonates best with your audience. So you can have multiple campaigns, multiple ad sets in that campaign, and then multiple ads that can be your split test level. Let's take a look at the perfect ad template. I know we're running a bit over on time, which is typical of me. I apologize. Just want to go through what the step-by-step process is that I use when I create my ads for my clients. Okay. I always start with a compelling headline. I hope you can see this one here on the side. It's a scrape from someone's site. I can't recall. I apologize. I can't give the credit for this. I didn't do this, but this is a beautiful example. Starts with that compelling headline and then a little paragraph, just a little paragraph on engaging copy. Sometimes I see copy in Facebook ads that go on and on and on and on. Long copy has its place depending on what you want to move. Typically, it doesn't work well for everybody. What does work, however, based on how we read, is having, these little bullet points highlighting the benefits. And what's super powerful is having a quotation from a peer. When we see our peers engage with something, when we have peer review and it's positive, then that's telling us, this is something that could be a really good thing. And then there's an urgency here. This is a marketing thing. It has nothing to do with Facebook, but you want to create urgency that helps to build desire for your product. Then you're telling them exactly what to do. Click now to book. That's a nice ad. Likewise with this one. Okay. These are very powerful ads. And you know what? I use the same ad structure when I create organic posts for my clients as well. It can be just as compelling. And when you have a well-positioned ad like this, whether it be an organic post, when you have a well-positioned organic post like this, you can repurpose that as an ad, because I guarantee you a well-positioned post like this will get you more attention and more engagement with your known followers and your existing audience. And as a result, you'll have good numbers here in your engagement on the organic post that can then translate into greater success when you use it as a Facebook ad, because we can use posts that were successful. Well, we can use any post, but it's better to use a post that had a high engagement from your organic channel, and you can convert that as an ad. And that is a very effective way of repurposing your organic posts that perform well. You can use them as ads. So I always, as a result of that, as having that as a possible end goal, I always choose to create this great structure to all of my Facebook posts, for sure. Okay. The summary of some best practice tips to create a compelling ad. You want to go boldly when you're creating ads, never go blindly. Always remember to start with that objective. You want to align your objective with likes, page visits. Okay. You want to know your audience, and you want to pick the right social media platform. If your audience is not on Instagram, don't go there. If they are weak on Facebook and really strong visually through Instagram, I mean, that's where you want to be. You want to ensure that you know who you're targeting. Yeah, knowing your audience and knowing how you can target them. Okay. Always make sure you have that retargeting tool known as our pixel, our best friend in Facebook, living and happily watching all of our activity on our websites. Always make sure that you choose the most appropriate ad format as well. The most appropriate ad format could be just a simple image, if that's resounding enough. Videos do very, very well. And I think I went on and on enough about carousel ads, but don't forget about the collections for mobile as well, knowing that the majority of our users are now engaging on mobile. And you want to create your content that's very similar to the organic post structure that I showed you. Benefits there is that it will lead to higher engagement, and you can use that when you repurpose your organic post as an ad. And then always make sure you stay within your budget and set a schedule, because if you don't set a schedule as an end date on your ads, they'll run forever. Trust me, it can happen. So in terms of measurement, with all of this effort having been done, with having set up your all of your foundational pieces and knowing who you're speaking to and knowing how to speak to them, you run your ads and you split test them, and you're happy, you're confident from your split test that you know what kind of ad can resonate. How do you measure? How do you measure the success of your Facebook ad campaign? Okay, it's an ever-changing landscape, but one thing will always remain a standard. And I think this will always remain certain, rather, that Facebook will continue to be a standard in the online advertising space. So how do we monitor whether or not our Facebook ads are working? There are 5 metrics that I review. First thing when I get up in the morning, in fact, even before I'm out of bed, I'm looking at my Facebook statistics and I'm looking at Google Analytics. But when I'm looking at the FSC and how well my Facebook ads are running, there's a few things I always look for. It says 5 things. I'm sorry, there are only, well, multiple, but I tend to focus on these 4. The cost per click, okay? The reach, how many people have seen my ad, okay? The impressions as well, and the click-through results. That's super important. How many people from my ad have actually gone through to look at my website? Those are important measurements. Here's an example of a couple of ads we ran recently. One is still active. I won't speak on that one. But this first one, I had a carousel ad. The objective was traffic. And we could have a whole discussion on naming conventions for ads, but we'll just stick to calling this one was a traffic carousel ad. It only ran for a week. It pointed to a website. It pointed to different pages on the website because it was a carousel ad. Every carousel image pointed to a different page on the same site. I reached 38,000 people with this ad. I was really, really happy. There was over 63,000 impressions. The impressions would have been higher had I increased the frequency rate. The frequency of 1.65 views per timeline. So you can see what the equation is here if you were to do the math on the reach times the frequency, you'll see how many times this ad was positioned on people's timeline. Those are good numbers. But what's really super important and what I get excited about is how many people from the ad actually click through to the website. So in a week's time, during that 7-day campaign for this ad, I had over 1,000 people go through an ad. I only spent $100 on this ad. And as a result, it was only 9 cents per click through. So it cost my client 9 cents plus my fee, but 9 cents to send people through from her ad on Facebook to, and as a result, I mean, they're fully booked. They're booking now for a couple of odd days in September. So the power of Facebook advertising, my friends, works super, super well. I've gone through a lot today. If there's an opportunity where you'd like to have a conversation, I'm more than happy to chat with you. You can reach me at Atlantic Online, Fairlead Marketing Inc. at atlanticonline.ca. My phone number is there as well. So I want to thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments? Xinwang, shall I share this back to you?
Yeah, this is great, Shelley.
Shall I
Thank you.
choose? Sorry for interrupting. I do that all the time.
Oh, no worries. No worries.
Can I choose stop share? Would you like to take control back?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great.
Thank you so much for the detailed instruction and tips on Facebook advertising. I always love the examples you share. And also it's my first time to know there's something called split test. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yes. Well, when you have an ad spend budget, I mean, some of my clients come to me with, 500 and 1,000 and upwards in some cases of ad spend. And we have, that's significant. And some people only come to me with $100 for an ad spend. And what can we do with $100? Well, quite a bit, as we've seen.
But you did a great job. You spent 100 and reached 2,000 people. Yeah, that's amazing.
I'm happy to hear that. Thank you. Are there any comments?
Yeah, we have one from Jennifer. Would you suggest that the business email address be the general address for the business?
Yes.
For example, info at. Yeah, it's an early question.
Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. Okay.
So yeah, just a reminder, our next webinar is next Tuesday at 1 p.m. on July 26th.
Yeah, and that's going to be a fun one because we're going to create, at least I think I'm going to go through the creation process of using a lead generation ad through Facebook. Okay, so
Mhm.
we can use the power of Facebook to generate leads. And that's fine and dandy. But then what do you do when you've offered something to somebody in Facebook? They convert in the ad itself. This is not somebody going off to a landing page and subscribing to your ebook. This is somebody within the Facebook ad itself converting to accept an offer from you at the Facebook ad level, and giving you their email address right there at the ad level. So what do we do when we have a successful lead generation campaign that has run? We've collected maybe 50 or 100 or a few thousand new emails to add to our account. What do we do with those people? Fine, they've gotten the first thing that they wanted. You deliver the download to them. But I think we have an obligation to carry on that conversation with people after
Yeah.
they've signed up. So what do we say to these people? And that's what the conversation is going to be about next week.
Oh, that sounds fascinating. Okay. So no one has questions? Yeah, I will still send participants about our today's recording like last week.
I beg your pardon?
I will send today's recording to all participants like last week.
Fantastic. Great. And is there a time limit on viewing the recording?
Time limit? I don't think so. And it's also on YouTube. We have a Digiport YouTube account.
Okay. Fantastic. We're all
Yeah.
YouTube stars now.
Yeah.
So again, if anybody would like to reach out, if they need assistance or whatnot, contact Digital Nova Scotia. I mean, reach out to Xin Wang. They have access to a plethora of different vendors like myself who who'd be happy, I'm sure, to provide some advice. If you need any clarity on today's presentation, I certainly would be happy to have a conversation with anyone as well. So you can always reach me through my website. And there's a lot of information, a lot of resources that are available online if you wanted to do some further research on this as well.
Yeah. So if no one has questions, we can finish today. And all participants, thank you so much for your time, and we will see you next week. Thank you, Shelley, again.
Thank you, Xin Wang. Bye, everyone.
Okay, bye. Take care.